In this video, we're going to cover the basics of auto layout. So we're going to create this basic wireframe for a fictional shoe app that has a placeholder image, the shoe name and text, and we're going to use auto layout to format it and take advantage of some of the new interesting features. So let's get started. All right. So we're going to duplicate what I just created here to illustrate the concept. So first I'm going to do is tap F to get to the frame section, and I'm going to do the iPhone 14 Pro. And I clicked on that and we have the frame here. The first thing that we want to do is click on auto layout. And it didn't seem like anything happened, but if you hover over, you can see that this auto layout is being applied with 10 pixels horizontally and vertically. So let's up that to 20. So I'm going to draw out another frame inside of this frame. So I'm drawing it out and I'm going to give it this fill color of a gray. That's a little too dark. Let's go here. And what I'm going to do in this property panel is for horizontal, I am going to fill container. And so now, as you see, it's filling the container. And then I'm going to add some text. So I'm going to type in img for image. And we are going to make this bold. Doesn't matter what typeface you're using. But use something that is bold. Click the frame again here. And what we're going to do is add an auto layout to this frame. And we are going to auto align center. And so as you notice, the text is now centered. I am going to go ahead and make this text a little bit bigger. All right, so now we have this image. Now I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and I'm going to go back to the parent frame here, and I am going to increase the space between items. Once I add another item, this will become apparent. I'm going to space that to 20, and also the vertical spacing, I'm going to bump that up to 40. Okay, so now we have these circles that indicate different photos in the photo slideshow. So I am going to click O to get to the circle, and I'm going to draw out a circle by holding down Shift to maintain proportions. And that, let's make this 8. And so there we have it. And I'm going to give this the same fill color as this image. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this by clicking Command C and Command V. And as you notice, that's stacked vertically. And that is a function of auto layout, which now we can change by clicking both of these circles, and we're going to create yet another auto layout. So we're going to click Shift A. And so what that did is it created that auto layout. You could have also did that in the design panel here. And now, as you see, it is the vertical layout is stacking vertically. So I'm going to do that to horizontal. So now that I created a frame that encapsulates both of those items, it knows to present them in line horizontally. And now I'm going to change this. This is the item space between items, and I'm going to push that down to, let's say, 8. And that looks good. And of course, we need to change this to a more subtle gray, indicating that it is not the one being shown. And now I'm going to, again, click Command C and then Command V. And that didn't work because I was actually adding the fill color. So I need to double click it again, Command C and then Command V. And I'm going to do that a few times, indicating there are many photos. So auto layout's looking good. As you notice, as I scale things, it scales the image accordingly, which that saves a lot of time for responsive layout. So now I'm going to add some text. So I'm going to type in shoe name, and that looks good. And now I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to do that by holding down Option and dragging. You can also do that by how we were doing it previously with Command C and Command V. So as you notice, it's stacked vertically here because this is set, the auto layout of the parent frame is set to vertical layout. So I'm going to change this. Let's bump it down to, I don't know, 18. And we're going to change it from bold to, let's say, medium. You can change it to whatever you want. Now, as you notice, we have this spacing looks a little odd. We want to group these two things and give it a more reasonable spacing. So there is that logical grouping between the text. So I'm going to click both of these, and then we're going to do a auto layout. Again, I'm going to just hold down Shift and A, and that is the keyboard command shortcut. And here is the padding in between the items. So I can move it up and down like this. I could also control it from this panel here. So let's say 8. That looks fine. Actually, let's say 4. So again, I just clicked the text layer. You have to click the frame in which these text layers are encapsulated. And we're going to type in 4. That looks great. So I generated this text about Jordan 1s on ChatGPT. So that's a whole nother video, but basically if you don't have a ChatGPT account, I recommend getting one. Super helpful for things like this. I literally typed in a prompt saying describe a white Air Jordan 1 and do so in one paragraph. So I'm just going to copy this text, and I am going to draw out a text box by clicking T on my keyboard and just drawing out a text box. And as you see, it's getting cut off to wherever I define that horizontal width. And I'm going to change that by going up to the design panel, and I am going to say fill container. And as you notice, that fills the container within the confines of that parent frame's auto layout, which is 20 on the horizontal level. So that's looking good. I'm just gonna, actually this looks good. So now we're going to create this section where it's the suggested shoes that they also might be interested in. So again, I'm gonna double click this, and I'm going to copy, and then I'm gonna come down and click the parent layer and Command V to paste, and I'm going to type in you might also like, and now we're going to create these two images. So I'm going to take this image, and I'm going to click Command C and Command V, and as you notice, it drops it right below. And this is what's really cool with auto layout is I just increase the frame size vertically. But what's cool about auto layout is I can just literally drag this down to any section, and it will move accordingly with the padding that we have defined. So I'm gonna again go to the parent frame and make it a little bit larger, and then I just drop that there. So now we have the image. So now what I'm gonna do is duplicate it again, Command C, Command V. Now we have 2, and now I'm going to click both of them as well as the text recommendation layer there, and I'm gonna add yet again another auto layout. So I'm gonna click Shift A, and what that does is it puts it in its own frame again, and now we can stack this accordingly. So I'm gonna click this button, and as you notice, this is not what I wanted. And that's because I grouped this text with these two images. So I'm going to click Command Z to undo that until I've undone that auto layout. And we're going to click on just these two images and create the auto layout. And now we're going to stack them. So now we have this. Just for aesthetic reasons, I'm going to click both text layers. And what I did there is I held down Command to select a individual item within a frame or within a group. It works the same way. And then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing and hold Shift. And now we're going to push that down. And as you notice, it's staying centered based on that auto layout we defined up here. And so 24, that looks good. So now I want the spacing in between these to be a little bit different, a little bit tighter. So I'm going to click both of them, and yet again another auto layout, which I just created, and now I can change that to, let's say, 8. Okay, so now that looks like a logical group. This looks like a logical group, as well as this main hero image. So I'm also going to just resize these images. They're a little bit too long, and as you notice, it's not resizing accordingly. And that's because you need to go back and click on both of those images, and we're going to go for the horizontal. We're going to go fill container, and then that bumped up to the frame, the parent frame of this that I just resized. So that looks a little bit better. Now we're going to add the button. So I am going to create yet another frame. So I click F on my keyboard and I draw out a frame, and I am going to give it a fill color of this black here, and as you notice, it is only taking up some of the space of which I defined. So again, I'm going to come up here and fill container. Beautiful. It saves a lot of time doing this. And then for rounded corner radius, I'm going to give this 8, something like that. And now I'm going to add a text layer inside of it saying by now. That looks huge, so we're going to bump that down to, I don't know, 18. Bold. So now it's just kind of free floating. So I'm going to click the parent frame, this button that we just created, and create an auto layout, and we're going to click this right here, and that centers the text within its parent frame. So now this is looking pretty good. I'm going to now preview what this looks like. So I'm going to go to the prototype settings. I'm going to show the settings and give it a device, the same device which we defined, the iPhone 14 Pro. And now I'm going to click it and click Shift Spacebar, and it will load our prototype. And what I actually wanted to do was present it so I get to see the iPhone presented in that prototype. So this is what it would look like. As you see here, we just created this wireframe. So that was pretty quick. In auto layout, I think it's changed the way I've thought about designing. Before, I used to think like wireframes, you should just draw out, a bunch of boxes and text and arrows and things like that, and not worry too much about the overall grid structure or padding and any of that to illustrate the concept quickly. But now I'm starting to think that auto layout does save a lot of time, and it sets a good foundation to build on later when I want to swap this out for an actual image, an actual text. So I think this is a very powerful tool. There's one other thing I want to illustrate, and that is putting things on opposing sides. So let's say we want there to be text saying one of, how many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One of 6 to illustrate what image you're on with text. So I'm going to use my text tool again and type out 1 of 6 images. And I'm going to make sure to spell that right. And we're going to make that the same text size as this, which is 14. So we're going to take that down to 14, and we're going to make this, let's make it light, and we're going to change the fill color to something a bit more gray here. Actually, let's match this, and let's make that actually bold. Okay, 1 of 6, something like that. So now we want this positioned aligning to the right side of this image. So I'm going to group that or create a frame around both of these items and do that with auto layout as well. So Shift A. As you notice, nothing changed, but a frame has been created. Also, it's good practice to start naming your frames to keep things organized. For the sake of this video, I'm not going to do that. But anyway, so now we're going to go with this auto alignment and horizontal layout. Okay, beautiful. But as you notice, this is on the left-hand side, and now I'm going to double click in, and I positioned it to the right, but I want it to be aligned to this image. So now I'm going to click the parent frame. I'm going to fill container, but hey, it's not aligning yet. And I try to move it over, nothing happens. So this is what you got to do. This is the trick. You click on the parent frame, and now we're going to double click the aligned center. So if you click it once, it aligns in the center, but if you click it twice, now it has aligned both to the left and the right of these two items in that container. So now this is looking good. This is looking kind of how I wanted it. I'm noticing here I want the padding on top and bottom to be 20. And sorry, what I meant is I want the padding in between the button and this recommended section to be more. And right now it is probably 20 because it's inheriting the parent frame, which has this 20 spacing in between. So again, what I'm going to do is click both of them, Shift A. I just created that auto layout, and then I'm going to just drag here in between. So now I can, let's bump that up to, I don't know, 30, 31, something like that. So now there's a little bit more space, so this maintains its logical grouping. So there you have it. That is some of the basics of auto layout. There's a lot more I could cover, but I think that gives you a good first pass. Thank you.